Have you ever seen someone celebrate a victory before the game has even started? Tiffany Banks walked into that courtroom wearing a smile sharp enough to cut glass, convinced she had already won. She had the man, the lifestyle, and the confidence of a woman who thought she was replacing a rusty old fixture. She thought Catherine Maddox was just a discardable housewife. But in the halls of justice, silence isn't always weakness. Sometimes it's a predator waiting to strike. When Judge Caldwell finally looked over his spectacles and read the name on the deed, the scream that tore through the courtroom wasn't one of joy. It was the sound of a life shattering. This is the story of the mistress who lost everything the moment she found out who the wife really was. Maris Maddox adjusted his tie in the rearview mirror of his silver Mercedes S-Class. It was a nervous tic he had developed over the last 6 months, ever since Tiffany had started pressuring him to make it official. He looked at his reflection. Grey temples that distinguished him a jawline that had softened only slightly with age, and eyes that were currently darting around with guilt. He wasn't guilty about the affair. No Maris felt entitled to that. He was a successful architect, the face of Maddox and Associates. He built skylines. He deserved a woman like Tiffany, 24, vibrant and fiercely adoring. Not Catherine, who had become as predictable and beige as the walls of the suburban estate they shared in Connecticut. The guilt came from the envelope sitting on the passenger seat. The divorce papers. "Just do it, Richie," Tiffany had whispered earlier that morning, tracing a manicured finger down his chest. "She's boring. She's dragging you down. You said it yourself, she barely even knows what you do for a living anymore. Cut the cord so we can live." Maris took a deep breath, grabbed the envelope, and stepped out into the crisp autumn air. Inside the house, the silence was heavy. It was a sprawling colonial mansion, immaculate and cold. He found Catherine in the sunroom, seated in her usual wingback chair, reading a thick hardcover book. She didn't look up when he entered. Catherine Maddox was 52, though she had the kind of timeless, severe beauty that didn't rely on makeup. She wore a simple charcoal cardigan and slacks. Her reading glasses were perched on the end of her nose. "Catherine," Maris said, his voice echoing slightly on the marble floors. She turned a page. "Dinner is in the oven, Maris. I assumed you'd be late." "Again?" "I'm not hungry," he said, moving to the coffee table and placing the envelope down with a heavy thud. Catherine stopped reading. She slowly closed the book. He noticed it was something dry, a historical biography, and removed her glasses. She looked at the envelope, then up at him. Her eyes were a piercing, icy blue. "What is this?" she asked. Her voice was level, devoid of the tremor he had expected. "It's over, Catherine," Maris said, rehearsing the lines Tiffany had helped him draft. "I can't do this anymore. We've grown apart. I need vitality. I need a partner who understands the modern world, not someone who just hides in this house." He waited for the tears. He waited for the begging. He waited for her to ask if there was someone else. Instead, Catherine reached out, picked up the envelope, and weighed it in her hand. "You're filing for divorce. Irreconcilable differences," Maris said, puffing out his chest. "I'm willing to be generous, Catherine. You can keep the house, obviously. I'll provide a stipend. But I want the firm. I built it. I run it. It's mine. And I want this done quickly. No drawn-out battles." Catherine stared at him for a long, uncomfortable moment. A ghost of a smile, or perhaps a grimace, flickered at the corner of her mouth. "You want the firm," she repeated softly. "It's my name on the door." Maris snapped defensive now. "Very well," Catherine said. She tossed the envelope back onto the table as if it were junk mail. "I will have my lawyer contact yours." Maris blinked. "That's it? No fighting?" "Maris," she said, standing up and smoothing her slacks. She was shorter than him, but in that moment, she seemed to loom. "If you want to leave, leave. But do not mistake my silence for agreement with your terms. Pack a bag. I'd prefer you not sleep here tonight." She walked past him, smelling of lavender and old paper, and headed up the stairs. Maris stood alone in the sunroom, stunned. It had been too easy. He pulled out his phone and texted Tiffany. "It's done." She didn't even cry. "I think she's in shock." A second later, a reply popped up, followed by a string of heart emojis. "Good. She knows she can't compete. Come over, baby. Let's celebrate." Maris smirked, grabbing his keys. He thought he had just cut loose a dead weight. He had no idea he had just pulled the pin on a grenade. 3 weeks had passed since Maris moved into Tiffany's upscale apartment in the city, an apartment he paid for naturally. The initial euphoria of his freedom was beginning to curdle into anxiety, mostly because Tiffany was becoming impatient. "Why hasn't she signed yet?" Tiffany complained one evening, pacing the living room in a silk robe Maris had bought her in Paris. "It's been 20 days. My lawyer says she's stalling." "She's just slow, Tiff," Maris said, nursing a scotch. "Catherine moves at a glacial pace. She's probably just struggling to find a lawyer who will take a losing case. I told you I offered her the house. She'd be an idiot to contest it." "I want to go to the Jagged Edge," Tiffany said, her eyes narrowing. "I want to be seen with you, Maris, publicly, at the Architecture Digest Gala next week. We're going. Is that wise?" Maris hesitated. "Technically, we're still married." "You filed," Tiffany shrieked. "Stop being afraid of that old hag. She's a nobody. She's a housewife who hasn't worked a day in 20 years. What is she going to do, knit us to death?" Tiffany's arrogance was fueled by youth and the certainty that beauty was the only currency that mattered. She had Googled Catherine Maddox. She found nothing. No LinkedIn, no social media, no news articles. Just a ghost. To Tiffany, no digital footprint meant no power. The night of the gala arrived. It was a glittering event at the Metropolitan Museum of Art. Maris walked in with Tiffany on his arm. She was wearing a dress that was essentially red spray paint designed to turn heads. And it did. Maris felt a surge of pride, shaking hands with clients and rivals. "Meet Tiffany," he'd say. "My partner." Then the room seemed to quiet down. At the top of the grand staircase, a woman appeared. She was wearing a midnight blue gown, structured and elegant, high-necked but backless. It was tasteful, expensive, and commanded attention. It was Catherine. But she wasn't alone. On her arm was Sebastian Cole. Maris nearly dropped his champagne flute. Sebastian Cole was the most feared litigator in the state. He was a man who didn't take divorce cases. He took corporate wars. He charged $1,000 an hour just to breathe the same air as you. "What is she doing here?" Tiffany hissed, gripping Maris's arm hard enough to bruise. "And who is that old guy?" "That," Maris choked out, "is Sebastian Cole. He's a lawyer." Catherine and Sebastian descended the stairs. They didn't look like a client and attorney. They looked like old friends, sharing a private joke. As they reached the bottom floor, the crowd parted. Catherine wasn't shrinking into the background tonight. She was radiant. Tiffany, sensing her spotlight being stolen, pulled Maris forward. "Let's go say hi. I want her to see us. I want her to see how happy you are." "Tiffany, no." Maris tried to stop her, but she was already moving. Tiffany marched up to Catherine, a faux sweet smile plastered on her face. Catherine stopped, her expression unreadable. Sebastian Cole looked at Tiffany with the mild amusement of a man watching a toddler play with a loaded gun. "Catherine," Tiffany chirped, her voice too loud. "So lovely to see you out of the house. Maris was just saying how worried he was that you'd be lonely." The insult hung in the air. People nearby stopped talking to listen. Catherine turned her gaze slowly from Maris to Tiffany. She didn't look angry. She looked bored. "And you must be Tiffany," Catherine said. Her voice was smooth, dark chocolate, wrapped in steel. "Maris has a type, though usually he prefers them with a bit more substance." Tiffany bristled. "I make Maris happy. I give him what you couldn't. A future." Catherine laughed. It was a soft, dry sound. "My dear, you are currently wearing a dress paid for by a credit card that is about to be declined. I wouldn't talk about the future if I were you. I'd worry about the present. You're just bitter because he left you." Tiffany spat, losing her cool. "We're going to take the firm. We're going to take everything. And you'll be left with nothing but your cats and your knitting." Sebastian Cole cleared his throat. "Ms. Banks, I presume. A word of advice. In legal proceedings, outbursts in public can be considered evidence of character. I'd suggest you enjoy the open bar. It's the only thing that's going to be free for you tonight." Maris stepped in, sweating. "Catherine, Sebastian, we're leaving." "Good idea," Catherine said, turning her back on them. "Oh, and Maris?" He froze. "I received your offer," she said over her shoulder. "I found it insulting, so I've decided to counter. I'll see you in court." As Maris dragged a fuming Tiffany away, he looked back. Catherine was laughing at something Sebastian whispered to her. For the first time in 20 years, Maris realized he didn't know his wife at all. "She's bluffing," Tiffany seethed in the taxi, tearing at a loose thread on her dress. "She hired a fancy lawyer to scare us. She doesn't have the money to pay him." "You said she has no income." "She doesn't," Maris reassured her, though his stomach was twisting. "I pay for everything. The accounts are in my name. She just manages the household expenses. Cole is probably doing it pro bono as a favor to her father or something. She's bluffing Tiff. We stick to the plan." But as the taxi sped through the dark city streets, Maris couldn't shake the image of Catherine's eyes. They weren't the eyes of a victim. They were the eyes of an executioner waiting for the guillotine to drop. The morning after the gala, the atmosphere in Tiffany's apartment was toxic. The sleek, modern aesthetics of the penthouse white leather chrome and floor-to-ceiling windows felt less like a luxury suite and more like an interrogation room. Tiffany was pacing her phone pressed to her ear, screaming at a florist who had delivered the wrong shade of peonies. She hung up and threw the phone onto the sofa, turning her glare on Maris. "She embarrassed me, Maris. That dowdy library-smelling woman stood there and laughed at me." Tiffany's voice was shrill. "And you let her." Maris rubbed his temples. He was nursing a hangover and a growing sense of unease. "I didn't let her do anything, Tiff. Catherine is different. I told you she's acting strange. And Sebastian Cole? That's not a divorce lawyer. That's a shark. I don't know how she got him. She's spending your money to sue you," Tiffany shrieked. "That's how you need to cut her off. Today, right now. Freeze the accounts. Let's see how smug she is when she can't buy groceries." Maris sighed, pulling out his laptop. "I already told Arthur to look into the assets. But you're right. We need to apply pressure. If she realizes she can't survive without my income, she'll drop Cole and take the settlement." He logged into his primary banking portal. It was the account that fed everything: the mortgage, the firm's operational expenses, and the lavish allowance he had been siphoning off for Tiffany. He clicked on the Transfer Funds tab, intending to move the bulk of the liquid cash into a separate holding account that Catherine couldn't touch. Error access denied. Maris frowned. He clicked it again. Error authorization level insufficient. What the hell? Maris muttered. What is it? Tiffany asked, looming over his shoulder. It's glitching. It says I don't have authorization. He picked up his phone and dialed the private client line for the bank. He was a diamond tier client. They usually picked up on the first ring. Mr. Maddox. The calm voice of the account manager, David Henderson, answered. David, there's a problem with the portal, Maris said, trying to sound authoritative. I'm trying to move some funds from the primary joint checking, and it's locking me out. There was a pause on the line, a silence that lasted 3 seconds too long. I see the issue, Mr. Maddox, Henderson said, his tone polite, but oddly distant. The account status has been updated as of 9:00 a.m. this morning. Updated by who? By the trustee, sir. Maris laughed, a nervous barking sound. I am the trustee, David. It's my money. I earned it. Actually, sir, Henderson said, and Maris could practically hear the man adjusting his glasses. That account is a dividend disbursement account linked to the Blackwood family trust. You are listed as a beneficiary with drawing rights. The trustee, Mrs. Catherine Maddox, has revoked those rights pending a legal review. Maris felt the blood drain from his face. Blackwood. That's Catherine's maiden name. But that trust was dissolved years ago, when we started the firm. We rolled it over. I'm looking at the ledger right here, sir. The account is frozen. You currently have access to your personal savings, which has a balance of... Henderson paused. $12,000. 12,000! Maris roared. There was $4 million in the primary account yesterday. That money belongs to the trust, sir. Is there anything else I can help you with? Maris hung up his hand, shaking. Well, Tiffany asked, tapping her foot. Did you freeze her out? Maris looked up at his mistress. He looked at the expensive silk rug she was standing on, the diamond bracelet on her wrist, the lease on this apartment which was due in 3 days. There's a glitch, he lied. He couldn't tell her. Not yet. If Tiffany smelled poverty, she would be gone faster than the champagne bubbles from last night. The bank is sorting it out. Security protocol. Takes 48 hours. Tiffany rolled her eyes. Useless, whatever. Just make sure it's fixed before we go to court. I want to see the look on her face when she realizes she's destitute. Maris closed his laptop, his heart hammering against his ribs. He needed to talk to his lawyer. Immediately. He met Arthur Pembroke for lunch at a steakhouse. Pembroke was a man who looked like he was made of oil and cheap cologne, but he was vicious in a divorce battle. She froze the accounts. Pembroke chewed on a cigar, looking unbothered. Dirty tactic. Standard play. She's trying to scare you. We'll file an emergency motion to release funds for status quo living expenses. Judges hate it when wives try to starve the breadwinner. Arthur the banker mentioned a trust, Maris said, wiping sweat from his upper lip. The Blackwood Trust. I haven't heard that name in 20 years. When Catherine and I got married, her father gave us the seed money for the firm. I thought it was a gift. Pembroke waved a dismissive hand. Gifts are marital property. Once it's commingled with your business, it's yours. Stop worrying. You built Maddox and Associates. You're the architect. You're the brand. She's just the woman who stayed home and baked cookies. We're going to crush her. Maris wanted to believe him. He needed to believe him. He had convinced himself that he was the sun, and Catherine was just a planet orbiting him. But a nagging fear was growing in his gut, the memory of Catherine at the gala, calm, cool, and utterly unbothered. "By the way," Pembroke grinned, "I looked into this Sebastian Cole guy. He's a corporate shark, sure, but he doesn't do family law. He's out of his depth. He's probably sleeping with her. That's why he took the case. We can use that." Maris nodded, grasping at straws. Yeah, that makes sense." The day of the preliminary hearing was grey and rainy. The Superior Court of New York loomed like a fortress. Maris arrived with Pembroke. He was wearing his best navy suit, trying to project the image of a successful, aggrieved husband. Tiffany, against all advice, had insisted on coming. She wore a modest black dress, but her heels were too high, and her makeup was too severe. She looked like she was attending a funeral for someone she hated. "Why is she here?" Pembroke hissed to Maris as they entered the courtroom. "The judge won't like the mistress sitting in the front row. Try telling her no," Maris muttered. They took their seats at the plaintiff's table. The courtroom was empty, save for the bailiff and the court reporter. Then the doors opened. Catherine Maddox walked in. She wasn't wearing the dowdy clothes Maris was used to seeing at home. She wore a cream-colored power suit that looked like it cost more than Maris's car. Her hair was pulled back in a sharp, elegant chignon. She didn't look at Maris. She didn't look at Tiffany. She walked to the defendant's table with the grace of a queen approaching her throne. Behind her walked Sebastian Cole, carrying a single slim leather folder. No briefcase, no boxes of evidence, just one folder. "All rise," the bailiff announced. "The Honorable Judge Harrison Caldwell presiding." Judge Caldwell was a man known for two things: his impatience with drama and his obsession with paperwork. He sat down, adjusted his spectacles, and looked at the two tables. "Estate of Maddox versus Maddox," the judge intoned. "We are here for preliminary motions regarding asset division and spousal support." Pembroke stood up, buttoning his jacket. "Your Honor, Arthur Pembroke, for the plaintiff, Mr. Maris Maddox. We are here to request an immediate injunction against Mrs. Maddox. She has vindictively frozen the joint assets, leaving my client unable to conduct his business or pay for basic living expenses. We are asking for full control of the firm and the accounts to be returned to Mr. Maddox, the sole earner." Judge Caldwell looked at Pembroke over his glasses. "Sole earner, is that so?" "Yes, Your Honor. Mrs. Maddox has been a housewife for 22 years. She has made no financial contribution to the marriage or the firm." Tiffany smirked from the gallery. This was going well. "Mr. Cole." The judge turned to the defense table. Sebastian Cole didn't stand up immediately. He opened his slim leather folder. He took out a single sheet of paper. Then he rose. "Your Honor." Cole's voice was deep and resonant. "Mr. Pembroke is operating under a significant misunderstanding of the facts. We do not contest that Mr. Maddox is an architect. We do not contest that he goes to the office every day. However, we strongly contest the notion that he owns, well, anything." "Objection," Pembroke scoffed. "My client's name is on the building. It's Maddox and Associates." "If I may," Cole continued, walking toward the bench with the document, "I would like to submit into evidence the incorporation charter of Maddox and Associates, dated 1999. Pembroke rolled his eyes. "This is ancient history." "History is important, Mr. Pembroke," Judge Caldwell said. "Proceed." Cole handed the document to the bailiff, who passed it to the judge. "You will note, Your Honor," Cole said, turning to face Maris, "that the firm was established as a limited liability company. The sole capital investor is listed as the Blackwood Trust. The operating agreement signed by Mr. Maris Maddox designates him as the managing director, an employee position." Maris froze. He remembered signing the papers. Catherine's father had handled it. He had said it was for tax purposes. "It's just paperwork, Richie. Don't worry about the fine print." "Furthermore," Cole continued, his voice dropping an octave, "Clause 14, Section B of the operating agreement, the moral turpitude clause. It states that in the event the managing director engages in conduct that brings reputational harm to the firm or the Blackwood family, his employment is terminated immediately and all executive privileges are revoked." The courtroom went silent. "Employment?" Maris whispered. "Mrs. Maddox isn't just a housewife," Cole said, finally looking at Tiffany in the gallery. "She is the sole trustee of the Blackwood Trust. In layman's terms, she is Mr. Maddox's boss. And as of this morning," Cole pulled a second piece of paper from the folder, "your Conrad." "This is ridiculous!" Tiffany screamed, jumping up from her seat. "He built that company. He's the genius. She's just a nobody." Judge Caldwell slammed his gavel. "Order one more outburst from the gallery, and I will have you removed." Pembroke was sweating now. He grabbed Maris's arm. "Is this true? Did you sign an operating agreement with a trust?" I don't know," Maris stammered. "I just signed what they gave me. I thought it was standard." "Your Honor," Pembroke tried to recover. "This is a technicality. My client has put 20 years of sweat equity into this firm. The name is Maddox." "The name Maddox," Cole interrupted, "was Catherine's wedding gift to him. She allowed him to use the name for the business. But the intellectual property, the client list, and the building itself, they are all owned by the trust." Cole turned to Catherine. She remained seated, her face a mask of calm. "Mr. Maddox filed for divorce on the grounds that he wanted vitality and ownership," Cole said dryly. "My client is happy to grant him the divorce. But regarding the division of assets, there are no marital assets to divide. The house is in the trust. The cars are leased by the trust. The firm belongs to the trust. Mr. Maddox leaves this marriage with exactly what he brought into it: his clothes and his student loan debt, which I might add, the trust has been kindly paying the interest on." "That's a lie," Maris shouted, standing up. "I made millions. I have millions." "You had a salary," Cole corrected. "A generous one, which you spent, and which you are no longer receiving." Judge Caldwell looked at the documents for a long time. The silence stretched until it was agonizing. Finally, the judge looked up. "Mr. Pembroke," the judge said, his voice dangerously soft, "it appears your client has filed a motion to divide assets that he does not legally possess. This court cannot divide property that belongs to a third-party entity, the Blackwood Trust. But, Your Honor, the freezing of the accounts is upheld," Caldwell ruled. "Mr. Maddox, you are ordered to vacate the company premises by 5:00 p.m. today. Security will escort you to collect personal effects only." "You can't do this. You can't do no," Maris cried, looking at Catherine. "Catherine, tell them we built this together." Catherine finally moved. She stood up slowly. She looked at Maris, not with anger, but with pity. "I built it, Maris," she said, her voice carrying through the quiet courtroom. "I provided the capital. I approved the projects. I managed the books while you played the great architect at parties. I let you pretend because I loved you. I wanted you to feel big." Her gaze shifted to Tiffany, who was trembling with rage and fear. "But you wanted to be big on your own," Catherine said. "So go be big, on your own." "Court is adjourned pending a review of the trust documents," Judge Caldwell announced, banging the gavel. As the judge exited, Maris collapsed into his chair. He felt like the floor had opened up beneath him. Tiffany rushed to the railing. "Maris, fix this." "They can't take the money. I have bills. We have the gala photos. We have a reputation." Sebastian Cole began packing his single folder. He looked at Maris. "Mr. Maddox, I suggest you find alternative housing. The lease on Miss Banks's apartment. The one the company pays for. That's been cancelled too. You have until the end of the month." Catherine turned and walked out of the courtroom, her heels clicking rhythmically on the floor. She didn't look back. Maris turned to Pembroke, his eyes wide with panic. "Arthur, do something." Pembroke closed his briefcase. The greasy confidence was gone. "I can't do anything against a cast iron trust, Maris. You signed it. And frankly, if you can't pay my retainer, I can't represent you anymore." Pembroke patted him on the shoulder and walked away. Maris was left alone at the table with Tiffany screaming at him from the gallery, realizing that the boring housewife had been holding the leash the entire time. And she had just let go. The fall from grace wasn't a slide. It was a cliff dive. 2 days after the hearing, the locks on Tiffany's Upper East Side apartment were changed. The building management, polite but firm, informed them that the leaseholder Maddox and Associates had terminated the agreement, effective immediately. They were given 3 hours to vacate. Maris stood in the middle of the living room, watching Tiffany frantically shove designer clothes into garbage bags. The Louis Vuitton suitcases were already full. "Don't just stand there," she screamed, hurling a throw pillow at him. "Call someone. Call Mark. Call Jason. You have rich friends. Someone can lend us a loft for a few weeks." Maris numbly pulled out his phone. He dialed Mark, verify a property developer he had known for 15 years. They played golf every Sunday. "Hey Mark," Maris said, trying to sound casual. "Look, minor hiccup with the divorce. Accounts are temporarily frozen. I was wondering if—" Mark cut him off. His voice was cold. "Don't call me." "What, Mark? It's me. I know who it is. I also know that Catherine Maddox is the one who approves the financing on my stumbling downtown project. She called the board yesterday. If I'm seen helping you, she pulls the funding." "She wouldn't," Maris whispered. "She would. She's cleaning house, Maris. And you're the dirt. Goodbye." The line went dead. Maris tried 3 more numbers. The result was the same. Catherine hadn't just fired him. She had embargoed him. She had turned him into social plutonium. By sunset, they were checking into the Motel 6 on the outskirts of Queens. The room smelled of stale smoke and lemon cleaner. The neon sign outside buzzed with a dying flicker that matched Maris's soul. Tiffany sat on the edge of the sagging bed, looking at her reflection in the cracked mirror. The glamour was fading, replaced by a frantic, feral look. "This is temporary," Maris said, pacing the small room. "I'm Maris Maddox. I'm an award-winning architect. I'll get a job. I'll start a new firm. Rival firms will be begging to hire me." "With what reputation?" Tiffany snapped. "It's all over the blogs, Maris. The Mistress mistake. The architect who owned nothing. You're a joke. No reputable firm is going to touch you while Catherine is suing you for embezzlement." "Embezzlement?" Maris stopped pacing. "I didn't embezzle. You used company funds to pay for my apartment, my car, and our trips," Tiffany said, her voice dropping to a dangerous whisper. That lawyer, Cole. He sent a letter to my mother's house. They're demanding repayment of $450,000 in misappropriated corporate funds. If we don't pay, they're going to the district attorney. Maris sank onto the floor, his back against the wall. She's going to send me to jail. Not you, Tiffany hissed. Us. I'm named as a co-conspirator. She stood up and walked over to him, grabbing his collar. I am not going to jail, Maris. I am 24 years old. I am not wearing orange because you were too stupid to read a contract. What do we do? Maris asked, tears welling in his eyes. He looked pathetic. The titan of industry was gone, replaced by a frightened child. Tiffany let go of him with a look of disgust. She began to pace her mind, working furiously. She was a survivor. She had attached herself to Maris because he was a whale, but the whale had beached itself. Now she needed to carve out what she could before the carcass rotted. The diamonds, she said suddenly. Maris looked up. What? The necklace, the bracelet, the earrings you gave me for my birthday, the Cartier set. That's worth, what, 60 grand? 80? Maris sniffed. Give them to me, she demanded. They're in your bag, Maris said. Tiffany scrambled to her purse, dumping the contents onto the cheap motel bedspread. She found the velvet boxes. She opened them. The diamonds glittered under the harsh motel lights, cold, hard, and valuable. We sell them, Tiffany said. We get cash. We flee. We go to Mexico or somewhere where that witch can't find us. That's running, Maris said. That makes us look guilty. We are guilty, you idiot, Tiffany screamed. She owns the police, Maris. She owns the courts. We need cash and we need to run. She grabbed her coat. I saw a pawn shop down the street. It's open late. Stay here. Don't answer the door. She slammed the door behind her, leaving Maris alone with the buzzing neon light. He sat there for an hour, staring at a water stain on the ceiling, replaying the last 20 years. Every memory of Catherine, her quiet support, her advice on contracts. He ignored the way she managed their life so he could play the artist hit him like a physical blow. She had loved him, and he had treated her like furniture. An hour later, the door flew open. Tiffany stormed in, but she wasn't holding a wad of cash. She was holding the velvet boxes, her face twisted in a mask of pure fury. She threw the boxes at Maris's head. You cheap lying bastard, she shrieked. What? Maris ducked, confused. What happened? They're fake. The words hung in the air. What? Maris stammered. No, I bought them at the boutique on 5th Avenue. I have the receipts. I went to 3 shops. Tiffany was shaking, crying tears of rage. They all said the same thing. Cubic zirconia set in gold-plated silver. Worth $200 tops. Maris's mouth fell open. That's impossible. I paid. Then he remembered. He hadn't gone to the store himself. He was busy with a client. He had asked his executive assistant, Mrs. Higgins, to go buy the jewelry. Mrs. Higgins, who had been with the firm for 30 years. Mrs. Higgins, who adored Catherine. Mrs. Higgins, Maris whispered. She must have swapped them. Your secretary. Tiffany laughed maniacally. You let your secretary buy your mistress's jewelry, and you think she swapped them. No, Maris. Catherine knew. She's known the whole time. Mrs. Higgins probably called her the second you made the request. Catherine probably told her to buy fakes and pocket the difference. Tiffany slumped against the door frame, sliding down to the floor. She's been playing us for months. She knew you were cheating. She let you dig your own grave, and she let you pay for the shovel with fake diamonds. Maris felt a chill that had nothing to do with the drafty window. Catherine Maddox wasn't just fighting a legal battle. She was dismantling his reality piece by piece. "We have no money," Tiffany whispered. "We have no assets. We have nothing." Maris looked at his mistress. The beauty was still there, but it was hard, now brittle. He realized with a jolt that she didn't love him. She never had. And now that the illusion of wealth was gone, the monster beneath the makeup was surfacing. "There is one thing," Maris said slowly, a desperate idea forming in his mind. A dangerous idea. Tiffany looked up. "What?" "The safe," Maris said. "In the library at the mansion. I kept a reserve there. Cash, gold coins, from before the digital accounts. It's not on the books. The trust doesn't know about it." Tiffany's eyes lit up. "How much?" "Maybe 200,000, maybe more." Tiffany stood up, wiping her face. The hunger was back. 200,000. That's enough to start over. That's enough to get away. "We can't go there," Maris said. "The alarm codes. She might have changed them." "You built the house, didn't you?" Tiffany challenged. "You know the layout. You know the weak spots. There must be a way in." Maris hesitated. Breaking into his own home, it was insanity. It was criminal. "Maris." Tiffany purred, walking over to him and placing her hands on his chest. It was a parody of affection, but he was too broken to care. "Do you want to rot in this motel? Do you want to go to jail for embezzlement? Or do you want to take what's yours and leave this miserable life behind? Be a man, Maris. Just for once. Be the man you told me you were." Maris looked into her eyes. He saw his own reflection, desperate, cornered and weak. "Okay," he whispered. "We go tonight." The Maddox estate sat on a hill shrouded in the darkness of a moonless night. It looked like a fortress, silent and imposing. Maris parked the rented sedan paid for with the last $50 on a prepaid debit card, a quarter-mile down the road. They walked through the woods, the dry leaves crunching loudly under Tiffany's inappropriate boots. "Quiet," Maris hissed. "My feet hurt," she complained, but she kept moving. The promise of gold was a powerful anesthetic. They reached the perimeter wall. Maris knew a loose stone near the garden shed, a defect he had meant to fix for years but never got around to. Irony tasted like bile in his throat. He pried the stone loose, revealing a gap in the iron fencing just wide enough to squeeze through. They crept across the expansive lawn, keeping to the shadows of the manicured hedges. The house was dark. Catherine went to bed at 10 p.m. religiously. It was 1 a.m. "The back patio door," Maris whispered. "The lock is faulty. If you lift the handle while you turn, it bypasses the deadbolt. I designed it that way to—" "I don't care why," Tiffany snapped. "Just open it." They reached the patio. Maris's hands were shaking so badly he could barely grip the cold brass handle. He lifted, twisted, and pushed. Click. The door swung open. Silence. No alarm. "I told you." Maris exhaled a surge of adrenaline, making him dizzy. "I never connected this door to the main grid. I liked to sneak out for a smoke." They stepped into the kitchen. The moonlight filtered through the skylights, illuminating the stainless steel appliances Maris had picked out. It felt like walking through a museum of his past life. "Where's the library?" Tiffany whispered. "West wing, past the foyer." They moved through the house like ghosts. Maris felt a profound sense of violation, but he couldn't tell if he was violating the house or if the house was rejecting him. The air felt colder inside than out. They reached the library. It was a room of dark mahogany and leather. The smell of old books and Maris's expensive cigars still lingered. Maris went to the large portrait of his grandfather hanging above the fireplace. He reached behind the frame and pressed a hidden latch. The painting swung outward, revealing a steel safe embedded in the wall. Bingo, Tiffany breathed, her eyes reflecting the moonlight. Open it. Maris spun the dial. Right 14, left 32, right 9. He paused, his hand hovered over the handle. What are you waiting for? Tiffany urged. It feels wrong, Maris muttered. Open the damn safe, Maris. He cranked the handle. The heavy steel door clicked and swung open. Tiffany pushed him aside and reached in. She pulled out a stack of papers. She tossed them aside. She reached deeper. Where is it? She hissed. Where's the cash? Where's the gold? It should be there. Maris said, panic rising. I put it there 5 years ago. Tiffany pulled out a small black velvet box. It wasn't jewelry. It was a voice recorder and a single envelope. Tiffany tore the envelope open. It was empty. She found it, Tiffany snarled, turning on him. She knew. Maris picked up the voice recorder. A sticky note was attached to it. It read, "Play me." Trembling, Maris pressed the button. Catherine's voice filled the silent library. It wasn't a whisper. It was clear, calm, and recorded at normal volume. Hello, Maris. Hello, Tiffany. They both froze. If you are listening to this, it means you've broken into my home. It means you've reached the point of desperation I anticipated you would reach approximately 4 days after the hearing. Maris looked around the dark room, terrified. You're looking for the emergency fund, the recording continued. I donated it to the Women's Shelter of New York, in your name, Tiffany. I thought it was fitting, helping women who have been used by men. Tiffany let out a strangled scream of rage. Maris. The voice softened, but the edge remained. You always forgot that I was the one who proofread your security schematics. You also forgot that the patio door sensor isn't wired to the alarm company. A pause. It's wired to the silent alarm in the guest house, where the private security team sleeps. Suddenly, the library lights flooded on, blinding them. Don't move, a booming voice commanded. Maris and Tiffany spun around, shielding their eyes. 3 large men in tactical gear stood in the doorway, handguns drawn and leveled at them. Behind them, wearing a silk dressing gown and holding a cup of tea, stood Catherine Maddox. She took a sip of tea, watching them with a look of mild disappointment. Trespassing, Catherine said calmly. Breaking and entering. Attempted burglary. Catherine, wait, Maris cried, raising his hands. It's me, it's your husband. My husband. Catherine tilted her head. My husband died a long time ago, Maris. You're just the intruder who looks like him. She turned to the head of security. Hold them until the police arrive, and make sure to give the footage to Mr. Cole. I believe this violates their bail conditions for the embezzlement investigation. No, Catherine, please. Tiffany fell to her knees, the sobbing now real. He made me do it. He said it was his house. I didn't know. Catherine walked over to Tiffany. She looked down at the younger woman who was now a sobbing mess on the Persian rug. You wanted his life, Tiffany, Catherine said coldly. You wanted his lifestyle. Well, now you have his consequences. Enjoy them together. Catherine, Maris shouted as the security guards moved in to cuff them. I'm sorry, I'll sign anything, just don't let them take me. Catherine paused at the door. She looked back at Maris, her eyes devoid of love, hate, or anger. They were just empty. You already signed everything, Maris, she said. 20 years ago. Goodbye. She turned off the lights as she walked out, leaving them in the hands of the guards and the darkness. The wheels of justice turned slowly, but when they crush completely. 6 months after the break-in at the Maddox estate, Maris stood before Judge Caldwell again. This time, he wasn't wearing a bespoke Italian suit. He was wearing an ill-fitting grey jacket he'd bought at a thrift store. He looked 10 years older. His hair was thinning, his skin sallow from months of sleepless nights and legal panic. Tiffany was there too, but she wasn't sitting next to him. She was at the prosecution's table, wiping away practiced tears. In a final twist of the knife, Tiffany had cut a deal. In exchange for a suspended sentence on the burglary charge, she had agreed to testify that Maris had coerced her into the break-in, claiming she feared for her safety if she didn't comply. It was a lie, of course. Maris had never been violent, only weak. But the court didn't see a weak man. They saw a disgraced executive desperate to reclaim his lost fortune. "Mr. Maddox," Judge Caldwell said, looking down from the bench with disdain. "You have pleaded guilty to trespassing and attempted grand larceny. You are also facing civil penalties for the misappropriation of corporate funds, totaling nearly $500,000. Maris stared at his shoes. "Yes, Your Honor. It is the opinion of this court that you are a man who had everything and threw it away for a fantasy," the judge continued. "Sentencing is as follows: 2 years of probation, 500 hours of community service, and full restitution to the Blackwood Trust. Until that debt is paid, 40% of your future earnings will be garnished." Maris closed his eyes. 40%. He was 52 years old. He was starting over with a criminal record and a massive debt. He was effectively an indentured servant to his ex-wife. As the gavel banged, Maris looked across the aisle. Tiffany didn't even look at him. She was already checking her makeup in a compact mirror, ready to go out and find her next victim. She walked out of the courtroom free, leaving Maris to carry the weight of their sins alone. 1 year later, the bell above the door of Pete's Hardware and Home Supply jingled. "Maris customer on aisle 4 needs help with drywall screws." Pete, the 20-something manager, shouted from the back office. "Coming." Maris sighed. He adjusted his orange vest. It was a far cry from the architectural blueprints he used to hold. He spent his days explaining the difference between Phillips and flathead screwdrivers to homeowners who had more money than he did. He walked to aisle 4, helping a young couple pick out supplies for their renovation. "We want it to look modern," the young woman said, excited. "Like that new library they just built downtown. Have you seen it? The Maddox Atrium?" Maris froze. "The what?" "The Maddox Atrium," the husband said. "It's magnificent. It just won the Pritzker Prize for design. The architect is this amazing woman, Catherine Maddox. She's all over the news." Maris felt the blood rush from his head. He excused himself, mumbling about a break, and went to the break room. He found a discarded newspaper on the table. There she was. Catherine graced the front page of the architecture and design section. She was standing in front of a soaring glass structure, a building Maris had sketched on a napkin 5 years ago, but never had the focus to finish. Catherine had finished it. She had refined it, engineered it, and built it. She looked stunning, not in a flashy, desperate way like Tiffany, but in a way that commanded respect. She was smiling, holding a golden award. He read the article. "Catherine Maddox, formerly the silent partner of Maddox and Associates, has stepped into the light. I spent 20 years managing the details in the shadows," Maddox said in her acceptance speech. "But I realized that sometimes you have to tear down the old structure to build something that lasts." When asked about her former husband and partner, Maddox simply replied, "I wish him well in his new endeavors. Everyone finds their level eventually." Everyone finds their level. Maris dropped the paper. He looked around the dirty break room, smelling the stale coffee and sawdust. He thought about the cold dinners he had complained about, the boring nights at home, the stability he had mistaken for stagnation. He realized then that Catherine hadn't just been the wife. She hadn't just been the money. She had been the engine. She was the architect of his entire life, propping him up, making him look tall. And the moment she removed her support, he had collapsed into rubble. The bell jingled again. "Maris aisle 6 cleanup," Pete shouted. Maris crumpled the newspaper and threw it in the trash. He put on his name tag, wiped his eyes, and walked out to clean up a mess. It was exactly where he belonged. In the end, Maris Maddox learned the hardest lesson of all. Never mistake stunts for ignorance, and never mistake kindness for weakness. He thought he was the king of his castle, but he was just a guest in Catherine's empire. He traded a woman who built him up for a woman who broke him down, and by the time he realized the value of what he had, it was already signed, sealed, and delivered to someone else. It's a reminder to everyone watching. Loyalty is a currency more valuable than diamonds. If you have someone who stands by you in the quiet moments, don't go looking for noise. Because when the noise stops, you might find that you're the only one left in the room. What do you think? Did Catherine go too far? Or did Maris get exactly what he deserved? Let me know in the comments below. I read every single one. And if you enjoyed this story of justice served cold, please hit that like button, share this with a friend who loves the tea, and subscribe for more real-life drama stories. Thanks for watching, and see you in the next one.